What's good, you guys? Welcome to the Football Frame of Mind Time Machine, man. When this comes out, this will be part six, man. We are looking at the NFL history, man. We're going back looking at some of the greatest players, some of the greatest games, some of the greatest um, moments, man. How the NFL got to where it is, man. We're gonna keep on going every decade, man. We're gonna go through all of it. So this particular decade is gonna be a little bit longer, probably as we move forward. It's gonna be in this format, 1 year at a time. Um, so the '60s was not necessarily faster, but it wasn't much to talk about in a sense where there you kind of talk about certain players and you knew how good they were. And those were kind of the guys, right? But as you get into the 70s, you got the expansion, right? I think the Saints and the Falcons were created for NFL in like the late 60s, right? But then we get into expansion in the next few seasons, right? Because I think Tampa Bay and Seattle, I think, are teams that are getting able to get into the NFL. So, like I said, there's a lot more to get into. League expansion, league rules, man. You get into the 80s, we got the lockout season where there was crazy MVP choice, right? We get into that, man. But we get into all of that, man. So like and subscribe to the channel. Help us grow. We are 500,000 views away at the recording of this video from 100 million, man. So shout out to y'all, man. Shout out to all of that, man. So I appreciate y'all. Let's keep growing. Don't forget to check out the Villain Sports Media Network, man. We got a lot of stuff over there, man. Some great shows, great people, great sports analysts, because that's really what we are. So check it out, man. Don't don't be shy. Like and subscribe, everything. Check it out, man. We got it all, man. I said we bringing back real sports media, one show at a time. So you know the drill. We about to start this thing, man. So we left off in 1975, right? That's where we started. All right. So we making it through the 70s one season at a time, right? So we doing our thing. We doing our thing. So it's gonna be fun. But we gotta start off. We'll talk about the champion later, right? That's how we do it. It makes this formula so much better, right? So you gotta talk about the MVP of the league. Fran Tarkenton, MVP 1975, right? His career is coming to an end, but I will say that he is, what's the word, man? He is just getting started, even though he's at the end. Because he has some really good seasons, man, after this, right? Including 76, right? And then even his last season, although he threw a hella interceptions, but he still balled out. He gave it his all in that season. So you can't say he went out, without going on his own terms. You see, I think he's the all-time leading rusher for quarterbacks, which is interesting because I pretty thought that was Michael Vick, man. But you know what? Let's check that out. Let's check that out. All time leading rushers, man. We going to check out something else. So leaders, career rushing yards. Uh, so Derrick Henry, he killing it. Well, I will say, but Derrick Henry he might catch Emmett, but the way he playing right now, I ain't never seen Derrick Henry fumble this much. I don't know what's going on with my dude, man, but it seemed like they got the drop on him right now. But he got to get it going. So, uh, let's see. So Joe Mixon still playing. He might get 10,000 rushing yards too, and that'll be kind of cool. Saquon. Aaron Jones. So Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I wasn't tripping. So he must have just passed them then. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I guess that was the record when he retired. Because unless that's sack yardage. Okay, so it was sack yardage. Okay. So that was the league leader. He's the all-time leader in sack yardage. But that just lets you know that he was out there scrambling and shit, man. Right? Because I mean, he got sacked a lot earlier in his career. He definitely did. But he was still like later on. They cleaned that shit up, man. They cleaned that shit up real good. So, but nonetheless, Fran Tarkenton is your MVP of the league, right? Mike Thomas, fifth round pick from the Redskins. He's your rookie of the year. Pretty good running back, pretty good receiving back too. So, he had a good run early in his career. Then he just turned to a solid, running back, man, that did everything. So, Oklahoma, then he went to UNLV, right? Let's see, Robert Brazil, sixth overall pick, Houston out of Jackson State. He had a good career, right? Especially, man, he hit the ground running. Pro Bowls, and second year All Pros as well. So he came out gunning pretty good, pretty damn good. I like that. Jackson State. See, Fran Tarkenton, of course, he was going to be Offensive Player of the Year. Look at them numbers, man. Come on, man. Almost 3,000 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, led the league. So, yeah, he was balling. But they weren't even, well, I'll take that back. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. I thought this was a different season. But nonetheless, then Mel Blunt, remember that name? Third round pick, Southern University, Pittsburgh Steelers, Defensive Player of the Year. So let's check out what he did, man. So just got 11 interceptions, just chilling, fumble recovery, man. But he was locking shit down and he was knocking cats out. Like he was not to be messed with at that cornerback position, man. Being 6'3", he already was a big corner anyway. So your best receiver had a rough day going anyway, right? And quite frankly, I think if he was on a different team, I think he would have had way more interceptions than he ended up with. Like he would have been even more like he would have been even more like I think his career might have been something like Champ Bailey in a sense, right? If I had to say if he was on a different defense, he would probably have a career similar to Champ Bailey, man. And I say that because Champ Bailey wasn't afraid to tackle. He would get his nose dirty in the backfield. And I think Mel would have had a career like that had he not had such a good defense, because when you got Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, I want to say Mike Webster, uh, LC Greenwood, Mean Joe Green. You got all these guys, these Hall of Famers on defense. You really don't have to do that much. It's like I just do my job and call it a day, right? Because I got some dogs in front of me and I'm a dog myself. So we just gonna be knocking cats out and winning Super Bowls, which he did, 4 of them. So there you go, man. Mel Blunt is your defensive player of the year, man. So um let's get into some stats, man. We'll get into some stats, and then we'll get into some standings, right? So remember what I said in the last video. When you see this, right? Pay attention. Ken Anderson is having the best time right now. right? But I can't underestimate and I can't understate how he's doing this, right? He's having some of the best years that he's not gonna say probably gonna have, but he's really good. And it took him a while to get back to this type of play in a sense. I mean, he had some pretty good seasons, but I'm not gonna say it's the only reason why he's playing good, but it made it easier if you ask me. So you're looking at 1975, and Bill Walsh is a quarterbacks coach. I have to keep mentioning this because it's important. Because you start to see the rise of Bill Walsh and how important he is to where we're going, right? We're going into the 80s, which was his decade, basically. The Niners were that team to beat. You weren't going to the Super Bowl unless you went through the Niners, right? Whether to get to the Super Bowl from the NFC or whether to win the Super Bowl from the AFC, right? If they got to the Super Bowl, you had to go through San Francisco in the 80s, and that's just what it was, right? But I can't stress it enough. I can't stress this enough. Okay. Bill Walsh was important to his success because you look at the year, right? This is 1975, and this is the last year he was with the Bengals, right? I'm not sure what happened, but I'm pretty confident that he wanted to be the offensive coordinator and they wouldn't let him do it. That's where I'm standing on that hill. I'm standing on that hill, and you can't tell me otherwise. You can't tell me otherwise, man. I think that's what happened because he left the next season and became the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. So you can't tell me that they didn't want him to do that. And I don't understand why. Because clearly, if you look at the numbers for Ken Anderson, right? As he became the starting quarterback, he just got better and better and better and better, right? All the way up until 75 when Bill Walsh leaves, right? But look how his play diminishes a little bit. All right. Look how it goes down a little bit, right? It goes down 2,000, right? Still a good ratio of interception touchdown, and then 77, still kind of, but one thing that stands out to me that is a negative in this particular situation is the completion percentage. Whatever Bill Walsh was telling him and showing him and really explaining to him was working. It was working for him. So after that, you see a decline a little bit, right? Like he doesn't return to his 75 level of play, quite frankly, until 1981. He didn't return to that type of play until 1981. And that's under Forrest Gregg, who was one of the best linemen of his era. So right, he's one of the best, right? And and they get to the Super Bowl, right? But he doesn't return to that level until you know until then. You know what I'm saying? So, not sure. I guess he matured as a quarterback or whatever, and really got some talent around him or whatever. But he doesn't return to that play until like 6 years later. So that lets you know already how important Bill Walsh would become in this game, right? And that's important, man. That is important to know moving forward. Start planting them seeds like this guy got something. Because he turned Ken Anderson, who was a third round draft pick, into a superstar damn near. Pretty honestly, he has a Hall of Fame case, if you ask me. MVP, Pro Bowls, like a Super Bowl appearance, like that is really good. So keep in mind how important Bill Walsh is, right? So let's keep going. So Fran Tarkenton finishes second, but leads the league in touchdowns, right? Roger Staubach has another, Captain America season. The Cowboys winning. That's what they do, right? Jim Hart doing his thing with the Cardinals. Burt Jones having one of them years, bro. Burt Jones is one of the best young quarterbacks in the league at this time. He's only 24 at this time, and he got Baltimore winning again. You gotta think 74 was ass for them. They were horrible. They only won one game. That's it. That's it, man. But he is one of the best young quarterbacks in the league right now, man. Shout out to my boy Brandon, man. He told me to definitely check out Burt Jones, man. Which I knew because he was one of the top draft picks, man, and he was pretty good in his particular era. But you could tell the wheels is turning, and Baltimore is back to trying to win again. And they got their face of the franchise. I mean, at this point, they've had two of the league's best quarterbacks. They had Johnny Unitas for about almost 3 decades. And then they had Earl Morrall, who was backing him up, but also won league MVP. Think about that shit for a minute, right? They won a Super Bowl together, right? So Burt Jones is responsible for this new era of Colts football, right? We got Billy Kilmer, man, still doing this thing in Washington, right? Craig Morton, Cowboys quarterback, like a couple of seasons ago. But Ken Stabler, former MVP, regression in terms of interceptions and touchdown ratio. Joe Namath is kind of winding down his career in a sense, right? Because we're in 75 and he is not playing very well. Now, this could be the Jets not being very good or whatever, but either way, 28 interceptions and then 22 in the year previous. It's not a good look, if you ask me. It's not a good look. And he only has 2 more seasons left, and 76 wasn't as good. And then he goes to the Rams, and that's just, a shell of himself at this point. So crazy fall off, man, considering the fact that you win the Super Bowl in 68 and, in what we call dramatic fashion. You win, you beat the favorite, the Colts, and you guarantee you're going to win. And boy, was he a sex symbol or what? He guaranteed that Super Bowl, shirt off, swim trunks, by the pool. Come on, man. He meant business, but still like kind of a crazy. But I will say that even though Joe Namath's like second half of his career, because I call the Super Bowl kind of his first half, the second half was kind of underwhelming. But I will say that he was a trendsetter before we got to the 80s, right? But the 4,000-yard season he had in 67, I felt put you in position to think big picture, right? Like whoever came after that, you could tell that, boom, we got an option here. Like, what if our quarterback is the vocal point of our offense, right? The quarterback play also gets better as the years go on, right? So you think, if Joe Namath can do this and have this many interceptions, this many touchdowns, and this many yards, imagine as the quarterback position progresses and gets better. We can change this 50% completion percentage into 62, and then you get a quarterback like Dan Fouts. You get a quarterback like Ken Anderson at 64. completion percentage. So imagine that. And I think that was kind of a pseudo trendsetter, if you ask me, because you think about 4,000 yards at this point. Quarterbacks in that particular era weren't passing for more than 3,000. 3,000 was a lot. But Joe got four, in an era where it's not even close, right? Now, it was in the AFL, right? But they still had to go through the NFL, Super Bowl three and everything. So just letting y'all know that's what it was, man. But then, like I said, you go James Harris, did pretty good. Dan Pastorini, not the best season in terms of completion percentage, but damn it, they won some ball games. This is under Bum Phillips. This is his first season. Yeah, this is his first season with Houston, and they come out gunning. And I don't know if they made the playoffs this year. No, they didn't make the playoffs. But damn it, they was good. They was real good. Richie Pettibone, I remember that name. Yeah, I remember that name. How many Super Bowls he got? He gotta have a few. 81, I think. Shit. When did Washington win them Super Bowls? Was it 80? Yeah, 82. 82, they won in the 90s as well, but they got three. Because under Joe Gibbs, they got a few. But I remember Richie Pettibone, though. I remember that name. Right, so he was the head coach at Washington in 93. Okay. But they got a couple. So I'm thinking 90. So I'm 91. I know they won because they played the Bills. And then I know they won in 82. I'm missing one. Was it 85? 87. So 80, 82, 87, and 91. Okay, cool. So he got three championships as a defensive coordinator. That's pretty damn good. But Richie Pettibone, man, I remember that name, bro, and that's pretty cool. So, but Bum Phillips, this is his first season in Houston, and they had some good ass teams, man. Of course, his son is Wade Phillips, who also has some pretty good defenses in his day. So, but we'll get into that. As we get into later on. But he was also the head coach and GM. Let's just do that. So he was getting his players. So Bob Greasy had an interesting career after, those first two Super Bowls, right? So he got them two Super Bowls, 72 and 73, right? And then 74 was pretty good as well, right? But not like passing the ball because you don't have to when you got Mercury Morris, Larry Zonka, and Jim Kick. You don't have to pass the ball much. And they was winning ball games with it. Their system worked, right? But as as everybody got older, it just seemed like now we got to open it up a little bit. And he didn't have the best second half of his career after having so much success early on in his career, including Pro Bowls and all of that, right? After it just seemed like, they just kind of fell by the wayside, right? But you can't knock it because he got two championships, man. And that's really what it was. But he still was a pretty good ass quarterback, man. It just I don't know what happened. It just wasn't pretty after a while, man. But nonetheless, man, let's keep going. Let's see. So I gotta mention. So Archie Manning is, like I said, man. He is still trying to get them out of the dumpster fire, man. He's trying his hardest to get the Saints out of it. 20 interceptions, 49 sacks. Like, he was getting his ass whooped. Like, whooped, man. So Archie plays with the Saints all the way until 1981, right? And 75, he injures his shoulders, right? So at some point, so he didn't play at all, right? But he's trying his best to get the Saints out of the dumpster fire, right? And the Saints don't have a quote unquote winning season until, like, I mean, Hank Stram gets there, and that's not really that good, right? But they don't have a winning season for real, or a season that's not completely dog shit until 78, right? We ain't even there yet. 79 is the first time in franchise history that they are over or at 500. You know, like 79 is the first time they've been over, like at 500, bro. And then 80, they go back to being ass again. But 78 and 79 were definitely their best seasons, man. So it kind of sucks for Archie, man, because he was definitely trying to help them win, and he was the top draft pick, man. But 78 and 79, man, were his best seasons by far, man. And it, hey, he fought tooth and nail. That's being the franchise guy, right? And I love that shit, right? So, Steve Spurrier, obviously Hall of Fame coach. Hall of Fame coach with with the the Florida Gators, and then actually came back and was pretty good with South Carolina. But he's a Heisman winner, first round draft pick, and he's playing. They drafted him. This is after the I forgot the guy's name, man. Goddamn, I was looking at that shit all the time. So let's Brody. After Brody, Spurrier got his opportunity, and did okay, but the Niners won't be good for a little bit, right? But nonetheless, it works out, right? You know, but I gotta give my boy Andrew some love, and I gotta talk about Steve. What's that? Barkowski. I gotta talk about Barkowski, bro. So first overall pick in the 75 draft, right? He is the legend of Atlanta that don't nobody talk about. Okay. And I gotta say that because Atlanta at this point has been a franchise since 1966, right? And since 1966, they really haven't had a winning season except for 73. And 73, they didn't even make the playoffs, but they had a winning season nonetheless, right? But at this point, they haven't had a winning season, man. And they really haven't had a good quarterback. So before that, they didn't have anybody. But with Barkowski under center, they had their greatest run early, their earliest run of really good play, in my opinion. Right? Including what, one, two, a strike season, so three winning seasons in there, right? Including, some playoff runs, So, right, they did pretty good, pretty good. They don't really have the best winning season. They don't have a definitive season until the 90s. Because after the late 80s, mid 80s, it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. So, but Barkowski, man, really set this. He set a new trend and made Atlanta feel like a football team. It took him a while, right? Took him a while to get his feet wet, but once he got it together, you see some good seasons in there, right? You see 1980, 12-4, Pro Bowl, All Pro, right? Some Rookie of the Year votes, All Pro, stuff like that. So you see all of that. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty good, man. But he's the guy in Atlanta that don't nobody talk about. But believe me, he's important because without him, Atlanta's still in a dumpster fire until we get to maybe the 90s, right? I mean, you see Lynn Dawson, right? 40 years old, still slinging it around. Jim Plunkett is now, probably almost on his way out of. He's on his way out of New England after this season. Then he goes to San Francisco, and then he has a career resurgence in the 80s with Oakland. So, but we'll get into that as we get in the 80s. But Dan Fouts, man. Dan Fouts, this is year 3 for him, 24, right? And we haven't even got into him really exploding onto the scene. Right now, Dan Fouts is just, Daniel Francis Fouts. He ain't Dan Fouts yet. He ain't Dan Fouts yet. But as my kid tries to break in. But like I said, he ain't Dan Fouts yet. What, little boy? Go. Get away. But he ain't Dan Fouts yet until we get to 79. So, but once they get Coryell, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, dog. But let's see who else in there. Brian Sepe. Yep, he about to be an MVP in the 80s. Ron Jaworski, he about to have a nice run in Philly. Earl Moore, 41, still playing. That's pretty good. Uh, Bobby Douglas, he got traded. But he's still cold. I don't care what nobody say. Joe Theismann is in Washington. Right? He a 4th round pick. He ain't even there yet. But he about to go on a run and be one of the best quarterbacks, in the league. He about to have a run, including the MVP and shit and a Super Bowl. So he about to get it done, right? So he in the league now. Let's see who else in there, man. Anybody else in there? Jack Kincannon, he's still playing, 1st overall pick. George Blanda, 48, man. But he a kicker now, though. That's pretty cold. That's pretty cold, man. So that's pretty good, man. Let's see. Who led the interceptions? Was that name? Tell you, interception was crazy, man, back in this day, bro. They were just throwing that shit around, man. But Joe Ferguson actually tied the league in touchdowns that season. Right? Not the league leader, but tied for the league leader, man. They went 8-6, man. So, but it's the reason why they went 8-6, man. It's the reason why. And we about to talk about it. Let's talk about it. As my boy Trick Williams says on NXT. Let's talk about it. So let's talk about OJ Simpson, man. He remember in my last, like the first season of this time machine thing I've been doing. Remember when Jim Brown had like 1,800 yards and the next person was like this, 1,100 or some shit like that? Well, OJ Simpson did the same thing. It was his world and y'all was just living in it, right? Y'all was just living in it, Ooh, Jim Ringo. He has some good ass offensive lines, bro. Yeah, he has some good offensive lines. Yeah, they was good too. New England, they had John Hanna and shit. Yeah. He has some good ones. Yeah, New England. I don't know if I don't think Eric Dixon was there yet, but yeah, they had some good. He had some good offensive lines. Yeah, he had some good ones. But OJ wasn't playing, bro. 1,800 yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 yards a carry, man. Still doing his thing, man. And obviously, it ain't 2000, but if he had a 16 game schedule, I think he would have got that shit again. The fact that he did that shit with 14 games is just ridiculous. But, right, he had such a good run, man. He had such a good run, man. His run from 72 to 76 was absolutely outstanding. Like, outstanding. Like I said, everybody talks about what he did off the field, and that should overshadow some of the shit that he did on the field. But that was way later. We talking about 75. We wasn't even thinking about what happened in 1990 or when we get into the 2000s, right? We ain't worried about that right now. Right now, we talking about 1975. And OJ had 1,800 yards and was all pro. All right. So we ain't even talking about all that yet. But he wasn't playing. Chuck Foreman is still playing his ass off, man. He's one of the best players, man, in the league right now, man. He's on the run. And when you're the 12th overall pick, you gotta be doing something. But quietly, Franco Harris is having a pretty good ass season. He's having a pretty good career, man. He's had 3 1,000 yard seasons, and he's a Super Bowl champion, right? And no, well, we ain't got to the Super Bowl champion yet, but he's a Super Bowl MVP as well. So there you go. Mercury Morris with 800, right? He doing his thing. John Riggins finally eclipsed 1,000, right? But he's scratching the surface on what he would become at the running back position. We ain't even what he about to do yet. He about to go off. So we got Dave Hampton, 1,000 yards. I'm thinking that's the dude that ran backwards and lost 1,000 yards at the end of the season. I'm thinking that's him. Yeah, I think that's him because he had 1,000 yards and then lost 1,000 yards at the end of the season because he ran backwards or some shit. So at 75, he got his 1,000. So that's pretty good, right? And then we get into 16 touchdowns. Pete Bazaznik or Banazak. Somebody got to help me with that name, man. But yeah, 16 touchdowns, man. And Oakland was in their shit, man. John Madden doing this thing pretty good. So that's good. Sam Cunningham, man, pretty good. Let's see what we got here, man. Larry Brown, former MVP of the league, slowing down, man. And I don't know why. Burt Jones, 300 rushing yards, man. Look at Terry Bradshaw with 200. So, not the greatest rushing season, man, but it's going to be some good ones later, man. Let's talk about passing yards, man, receiving yards, man. So, Ken Burrow led the league in passing and receiving yards by a long shot, right? And that's it. He just got 1,000. He didn't even do that much, and that's the only 1,000 yard season he had. But the yards per reception is where it's at, man. So Isaac Curtis, 15th overall pick. So he balled out. He was stretching the defense pretty damn good, man. 23 or 21 yards per catch. That's pretty good. Ken Burrows was at 20, right? Charlie Joyner, 19. So you had a lot of dudes that could stretch the defense, man. Lynn Swan was doing it, and he had 11 touchdowns, and that led the league in touchdowns. So you had some stuff, man. Fred Biletnikoff still doing his thing. Harold Carmichael still doing his thing. So you had some pretty good receivers that were taking the top off the defense, man. right? Mel Gray had 11 to go along with it. But like I said, man, Don Coryell, man, he was not playing with y'all, man, with this offense, man. He was the trendsetter, man, in terms of play calling for the quarterback. Let him air that shit out, man. Let's fucking play. So yeah, I like that shit, man. So let's get into some defense, man. Not team defensive stats. I ain't trying to go that deep down the hole. But let's look at sacks, man. They're not official until 82, so this is just an estimate. But I gotta talk about Jack Dutton, man. Fifth overall pick with the Colts. Probably the reason why they start winning again, man. They start getting some help on defense, man. But he played a long time. He played a long time. But his best seasons was early though. Most definitely. 17, 13. He never got double digit sacks again. But that's a pretty good ass way to start your career off, man. And I'm pretty sure they thought they would have a little bit more. But he did pretty good, 3 Pro Bowls and shit, man. Jack Youngblood, man, another All Pro. Is that his first All Pro? No, that's his second. In a string of about, what is that, 7? So that's pretty good. Let's see, Alan Page still doing his thing. Wilbert Young got 12. Let's see, man. Let's see some names. See some names that didn't really get no shine until later. We got Al Lozado doing his thing. Robert Brazil, MVP, not MVP, but Rookie of the Year. Fred Dean ended up being pretty good later on, right? That's a name we gotta recognize, especially when we get into um, start getting into the 80s. He was pretty good, man. But yeah, good season 78, man. But he was important to the Niners in the 80s, man. He was real important. Real important. He's one of those ones, man. See LC Greenwood, Randy White. Randy White is young, but he turned into a beast. Like this is his first season, man. And he second overall pick in the draft. 6 sacks, man, doing his thing. But he becomes a beast, bro. Once we get in the late 70s and the 80s, y'all see it, man. He start clowning on these fools. They ain't ready. They ain't ready. John Matuzak kind of expect a little bit more from him, but like I said, he started getting good later. A solid player though, especially with Oakland. He's really good with Oakland. But let's see some other names on here. So Ted Hendricks, he's with Oakland now. Or was he always with Oakland? I don't think so. Yeah, he's with the Colts, and then Green Bay, which he was really good. Green Bay. Um, he got 5 interceptions. Shit, he was good. When he went to Oakland, that's when he really turned into something. Let's see. Anybody else that kind of Randy Gradisher? He was pretty good. He was pretty good. Tom Jackson. So for people that don't know, this is Tom Jackson from ESPN and Chris Berman, right? He did the halftime show and NFL Countdown with Chris Berman for years. But he was a beast. We can't forget about Tom Jackson. I'm not. I'm not gonna forget about him, man. Like he was good, man. I remember Grandpa used to talk about it. He was like, "Oh yeah, Tom Jackson was good, man." You know, he used to talk about the Orange Crush defense with Denver a lot. So I don't really know when they started to get real good, but he talked about that Orange Crush defense, man. And I guess that's 77, or maybe that's just the whole thing. You know, their whole defense at that time. But he used to talk about that Orange Crush, man. And 77, when they made the Super Bowl, they lost to Dallas, of course, but um, that's crazy. 10 points a game. We're gonna have to break that down when we get there, when we get to 77. But yeah. But shout out Tom Jackson, man, true legend of the sport. 7 interceptions, bro, in '76. Like, bro, he was doing his thing, man. He was getting after the passer. He was messing the passing lanes up with interceptions and shit. He was cold, bro. Hella cold. Hella cold, man. So I can't forget that. Anybody else that stand out that really didn't get no shine for real? Let me see. Ted Washington. No, that's not the same dude. That's not the same guy, man. That's pretty much it, man. Anybody else? Bubba Smith still playing? He with Houston now. Let's see. Joe Jones, Leroy Jordan, Jack Lambert. Yeah. So let's see. Let's see who led the league in interceptions. I want to say that was Mel Blount. Yeah, Mel Blount. But yes, Mel Blount led the league in interceptions, right? But Paul Krause probably had his second to best season since his first one. Like, he was a ball hawk, man. 10 interceptions, and he was returning them things too. He wasn't just going down. He was getting some yardage, man. So one of his best seasons, 75, right? You know, and that was kind of his last good season, bro. Like, I mean, he had some good seasons, right? Solid. But I think after you get 10 interceptions at 33, people pretty much get the message at that point. Like, all right, let's stop throwing at him. And what's crazy is after you get 12 in your rookie season, you should have got the message that this guy is not somebody we need to keep throwing at. We need to throw somewhere else. But it took them 10, 11 years to figure out, okay, well, let's just stop throwing over there. By that time, it's too late. And he's got almost 81 at that point. And that is the all-time record right now, bro. So shout out to Paul Krause, man. Roland Leonard, man. Atlanta, 9 interceptions. Probably should have got some All-Pro and some Pro Bowl votes for that shit. Interception return, so that was pretty good. Let's see who else in there. Emmett Thomas continuing his run to 58 interceptions. Roger Worley, one of the most underrated guys ever, right? And he was really good, man. He picked off a lot of passes. I don't know if Roger Worley was the one that intercepted the ball with both hands and calves, or that was Wilson, I think. But either way, he was good too. Let's see, man. Let's see anybody else. Lim Barney, like, he had some rough years, man. He had some rough years, man. But he seemed like he was a punter. Was he not? Was he a punter? Yeah, he was a punter. So he got All Pro as a punter. That's pretty damn cool. That's pretty cool, man. He was punting and shit. Okay. He's definitely a better corner than anything. But I mean, like I said, man, Detroit wasn't that good, man. So he played all the way. He played from 67 to 77. And in that time frame, I'm not sure. I don't know how good Detroit was, but from 67 to 77, they made the playoffs one time. One time, man. Damn, man, I hate when good players don't get a shot to play in the playoffs, bro. We dealing with that shit in baseball. I don't, I don't think, Paul Skeen's gonna get to a playoff. Not in Pittsburgh. I hope he don't do the Mike Trout shit though. I know this ain't a baseball show, but I hope Paul Skeens don't stay in Pittsburgh, man. Do not sign that big ass extension, man. Just play it out. Let's do this rookie minimum. Let's go to arbitration, and then let's go to free agency, man. They probably gonna trade you, and we deal with that. But fuck that. We're not doing that. But anyway, let's get back to football. Just my thoughts on that. So, can Houston turned out to be pretty damn good, especially with Washington. Like I said, he in the midst of what was that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12 Pro Bowls, man, in a row. Yeah. So, pretty damn good. Let's see. I'm about to say Doug Atkins still playing. Fuck no, that was a while ago, but he's still good. Let's see. Let's see. So that's pretty much it, man. I don't see nobody else for real. Yeah, Villa Piano. Yeah, he's pretty good, man. Yeah, he's good with Oakland. Oh, he ain't get no ring, no. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He got Super Bowl 76. Yeah, he got one, and we ain't even got there yet. I can't wait to talk about that shit. Can't wait to talk about that shit. But that's pretty much it. Pretty much it. Anybody that stands out for real, like that I know. Yeah, but but yeah. So let's get into some standings, man. We're doing pretty good on time, man. So let's get into some standings. So the Colts, the Steelers, of course, and the Raiders, right? That's crazy how we. That's crazy how we keep getting here. That's crazy how we keep getting here in the 80s, in the 70s, bro. I'm telling you, you cannot go to the Super Bowl without seeing Pittsburgh, bro. You just can't. You're gonna have to go through Pittsburgh. And if you're Oakland, you're gonna have to go through Pittsburgh. And the Dolphins was the team at first, but Pittsburgh got them up out of there. They ain't scary no more, right? You got Buffalo 8 games, they won 8. Shit, the Dolphins won 10, and they ain't even make the playoffs. The Bengals got in there, right? Telling you, Bill Walsh was ready to be the offensive coordinator, probably even the head coach. To be honest with you, he was ready, but Paul Brown didn't see it that way. I mean, it cost him a Super Bowl, a couple of them, and they still trying to get that first Super Bowl. Shit, but they cheap, and and they gonna work until they start spending some money on it. So whatever, bro. But like I said, Bengals made it out the wild card, man, and the Raiders win too. So like I said, Don Coryell, man, he had some good ass teams with the St. Louis Cardinals, man. Football Cardinals. Yes, St. Louis did have a football team before the Rams, and they were the Cardinals, which was interesting to say the least. But I'm like, how do you do that with the trademarks and shit? Like, I mean, the Cardinals, it's the Cardinals, bro. What are we doing? But nonetheless, man, he had some good teams, man. He had some good teams, and his offenses were good. So Don Coryell took over '73, and he ended up leaving in '77. But his his teams were good offensively. Like '73, they were top 15, right? His first year, obviously trying to figure some shit out. But '74, ninth overall. '75, seventh overall. '76, eighth overall, right? '77, still top 15, right? And then of course they leave and look at their offense. Absolutely garbage. Look at that shit, man. Come on, man. Sometimes you gotta bite the bullet, dog. Sometimes you gotta bite the bullet, bro. And just let's keep fucking with it. Let's keep going. Let's keep trying to do it. We ain't always gotta change coaches. Sometimes we just need better players. That's all it is. A lot of times I see this too much in football, man. I see this too much in football, man, where they just fire the coach because he can't win, right? Well, everybody ain't gonna be John Gruden, right? And be kind of that missing link on the Buccaneers, and then they win the Super Bowl the next season. Sometimes it ain't like that, and you do more damage switching coaches than you do with keeping coaches, if that makes sense. Sometimes you gotta stay down, man. And like I said, the Cardinals cost themselves. They cost themselves that, man. But the Vikings 12-2, and the Rams are 12-2, right? Under Chuck Knox, they got the best defense in the league, right? Giving up a pesky 9 points a game, bro. Best defense in the league, and they doing their thing, right? They do their thing. So that's interesting. But let's get to some playoffs, man. All right. So divisional weekend, December 27th, 1975, right? I wonder what my grandpa was doing around that time. My mom's like, one? What? Yeah, my mom's like one, about to be two. So let's see. My grandpa might have been like 30. He might have been 30, like 30 something. You know, like my age. So I already know I was probably watching this shit like, yo. He's like, man, Pittsburgh finna win it all, man. Because I know I'll be talking that shit. If it's 1975, like, man, Pittsburgh finna win it all, bro. Who's stopping them? that would be my thing, man. I'll be talking mad shit, man. But nonetheless, Pittsburgh takes care of the Baltimore Colts, man. Burt Jones is the quarterback, man. I'm not sure if he got knocked out in this game or they just went with another option. I'm not sure. But either way, it didn't look good, man. So if he got knocked out the game, that sucked because they actually might have had a shot. They actually might have had a shot if he didn't get knocked out, man. But after that, you ain't got no option, man. That's all. Like, because technically they didn't do bad, right? Because you were winning this game in the third quarter. You're up 10-7 on the defending champs, but you got to finish. I mean, between Rocky Blyer scoring a touchdown, which you're not out of it, still the third quarter, but then you get hit with Terry Bradshaw, a 2-yard touchdown, and then a fumble recovery for a touchdown. That's it. That did them in. You already can't score, but here's the thing: Pittsburgh didn't even play their best game. That's how you know they could have won this game. And Burt Jones getting hurt really kind of fucked that up. But they had nothing for Franco Harris, man. I would love to know what his playoff numbers were, man. Like what was his playoff numbers, man? Like what the is this shit, man? Your rookie season, 96, a touchdown, right? 73, didn't really do that much. You lost to Oakland, right? But Super Bowl run of 74, right? I mean, you go 70, 74, 111, 158. Like, that's crazy production in the playoffs. And then your first, like, you just a menace. Just a menace, dog, in the playoffs. Like, and then when you get older and they still winning Super Bowls and shit, like, he's still a menace. You still can't fuck with him. That's crazy. I don't understand why people don't talk about Franco Harris being one of those top running backs of all time, bro, especially in the playoffs. That's crazy production. Crazy. That's absolutely nuts, man. He gave them 153. That is nuts, bro. Like, that's crazy, bro. But they beat the Colts, man. But Ted actually is an interesting case. I got to get into that because that's actually, as we get into the future, that's something I actually get into a little bit later. But I got to get into at least, the premise of it. So Ted, man, I don't really, we say Marquis Broda. See, somebody watch this. Let me know if I pronounced that right, man. But Ted Markey Broda, man, he coached Baltimore, right? In 1975, right? This is his first year, and they win. They go to the playoffs, right? And they pretty good, and then they get pretty bad. Then, of course, they he leaves or gets fired or whatever, but then comes back and coaches the Indianapolis Colts, right? And then you will not believe this. You won't believe this until I tell you. But he comes back to Baltimore and is the first inaugural coach of the Baltimore Ravens. He is the first coach in their history, right? Not there for a long time. Not there for a long time. Like I said, not there for a long time, man. Obviously Brian Bellick takes over in '99, but he got the ball rolling when they moved to Baltimore. When the Browns moved to Baltimore from Cleveland. So um, that's pretty fucking cool. How he just like he's a Colts guy. He's a Baltimore guy. I love that shit, man. But they couldn't do nothing. They couldn't do nothing with they couldn't do nothing with Pittsburgh, man. I'm sorry. All right, so then St. Louis, right, gets outdueled, right? They get outdueled with their offense by the Rams. But keep in mind, the Rams had the best defense this year. Number one defense in the league in 1975. So you just wasn't gonna do nothing with that, right? Offensively, it was good, man. Like I said, Ron Jaworski is, young Ron Jaworski. He is 20. He's 24 at this time, right? So he's starter going into the playoffs, and he's got a good defense behind him, right? And he runs for a touchdown. The Rams come out 21 nothing. That's second quarter. Then the Cardinals come back, right? Get it as close as 16-28, and then the Rams shut the door. You know, they make it respectable, but that was it. The Rams shut the door. They ran the ball pretty damn well, man. Lawrence McCutcheon gave them 200 yards on the ground, bro. Like, that's crazy. Ron Jaworski played a pretty perfect game, bro. Not doing too much and handing that motherfucking ball off, man. So the Rams take care of business, which is crazy because this is foreshadowing. The St. Louis Cardinals are here. They go to Arizona. Then the Rams come to St. Louis, and then they go back to Los Angeles. That's crazy, bro. Crazy. But Dallas, which we haven't really talked about too much, but they end up doing their thing, man. They win against the Vikings in a pretty close game. I mean, both teams run the ball pretty well, and Dallas just really lit them up in the passing game, which is crazy to me. But they lit them up in the passing game, man. They got some runs though. Like, this was a close game. Like, Chuck Foreman did his thing. Ran Tarkenton pitched in with some runs. So they did pretty good, man. It's just Dallas was just too good. Dallas was too good. They got what is that? Almost 3-4 sacks in the game. Roger Staubach played a pretty good game as well, man. So Chuck Foreman scores. Dallas gets a score in the third. They do nothing in the first. And then the fourth quarter it gets real tight, man. And the Cowboys, get a nice little lead, right? They get up 3, and then the Vikings get the game back. But then Roger Staubach hit Drew Pearson, man, and that's a receiver we haven't talked about yet. How good he was, right? The originator of the '88 club, right? So, like, he was one of those ones too. So he did his thing. He's a good ass receiver too, man. He's a good ass receiver, bro. And don't nobody talk about, man. So we get another classic game between Paul Brown, right, and John Madden, right? So Paul Brown, obviously, everybody knows Paul Brown. He got all the championships in the 40s, right? And you got a bunch of championships in the 50s with I wanna say Jim Brown and shit. Was Jim Brown on the team? Browns in the 50s. Was he on the team? On the team was that 60s? No, that's autogram. My bad. My bad. But shit, he was there in the 60s though. Like he was there. He was there in the 60s. But he got all the championships in the 50s, bro. He was just nasty. But this is 75 and Paul Brown is 67. It's time for him to hang it up. And like I said before, I think Bill Walsh wanted the head coaching job and he didn't give it to him. He regret that shit massively. But I mean, like I said, man, this is a classic game, man. I mean, the Raiders storm out to a 10-point lead. Um, and I mean, at halftime, it's 17-7. And you think, like, okay, well, whatever. Then dude, Oakland gets up 24-7. But once you start letting Ken Anderson kind of air the ball out a little bit, you can try to come back. And that's exactly what they did, man. They scored three touchdowns in the second half, man, and brought this game to three. And I think they just ran out of time, quite frankly. I think they ran out of time. And because they ran out of time, so did Bill Walsh, because he was gone after this season, right? And that's probably the last you'll hear from Cincinnati for a little bit. Like, because Cincinnati doesn't, after 75, Cincinnati doesn't make a substantial run until 81. 76 is okay, right? But they don't make a run and a substantial playoff run until 81, right? And then after that, they don't make a substantial playoff run until 88. And then after that, they don't make a substantial playoff run or any type of run, period, until 2021. So sometimes you bet on the wrong horse, man. But Oakland keeps going. They keep going. So they go to the next round. So let's talk about AFC Championship weekend, January 4th, 1976, man. So remember what I told y'all in my other videos, like this is part 6. So pay attention to the other videos, man. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Oakland Raiders are the rivalry of the 70s, right? Oakland has been trying their best to beat Pittsburgh, and they did. They did. Like Oakland beat Pittsburgh, I want to say under John Madden. They beat Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken, it was 72. Yeah, it was 72 or 73. It might have been 73. Yeah, so they beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs, right? But you had to go through the Dolphins, right? Who were on a roll and about to win a back-to-back championship. So, but they beat Pittsburgh, right? But Pittsburgh had been a bugaboo though. Like Pittsburgh had their number, except for 73. Pittsburgh beat them in the playoffs in 72. They beat them in the playoffs in 74. They beat them in the playoffs in 75. So they really 1-3 versus Pittsburgh in the playoffs, right? Like this is a rivalry of two teams that despise each other. But one is just better than them. They just know how to win. And that's what Pittsburgh was at this time. The team that you had to go through to get a championship. And that is what they were trying to do. But they had their number. They had their number throughout the 70s, bro. And they get their breakthrough. They do. They get their breakthrough. But it took another season, man. And that's what happened, man. So they had their number, man, but they had their breakthrough and they got it done. But like I said, man, you look at this game, John Madden, Chuck Noll, two of the greatest coaches in NFL history, right? Two of the best teams. I mean, I can't tell you how many Hall of Famers was on these teams, right? You obviously got Ted Hendricks, John Madden himself, Al Davis, the GM owner is a Hall of Famer. Chuck Noll, like you know, Mean Joe Green, Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris, Lynn Swan, John Stallworth. Like I don't even mention the offensive linemen. Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, all Hall of Famers, right? Who else is on there, man? Art Shell, I think, is offensive lineman on the Raiders at this point, right? He turns into the coach of the Raiders multiple times. Jack Tatum, who should be a Hall of Famer, I think is on the team. They ain't got Lester Hayes yet. We ain't gotten to Lester Hayes yet, I don't think. But like all them Hall of Famers on this team, this game was filled with gold jacket wearers. So like you can imagine like the energy in here, right? I mean, but the Steelers, look, man, the Steelers, they fight back, bro. They come out going. They get a 10-point lead, and then Ken Stabler brings them back. At the for like this game is close, bro. Like pay attention to that shit. It's close as hell. Like they ain't do nothing between. They ain't do nothing in the first quarter or the third. But the Steelers get a motherfucking field goal, then a 25-yard touchdown run by Franco Harris. And then Ken Stabler gets a nice touchdown pass, man. And then Terry Bradshaw just air it out, bro. And then he get, a touchdown pass. And pretty much that's it, bro. Like, that's all you needed. Ken Stabler did not have a good game. 2 interceptions, got sacked twice, right? And he passed way too much, but they couldn't run the ball. I mean, like, let me do the math real quick. So, I mean, 93 divided by 32. That's definitely not a good yards per carry. That's 2.9 yards a carry. They couldn't run the ball. So typically when you can't run, you gotta pass. And Ken Stabler already ain't the most accurate quarterback in the league. So I don't want him passing that much. Right? But Terry Bradshaw didn't have a good game. He threw 3 interceptions, right? But you know what they had? Running game, man. Rocky Bleier, even though he got 10 carries for 16 yards, like still kept him honest to the point where Terry Bradshaw can make that pass to John Stallworth. Keep him honest. Dave Casper, another tight end that we don't talk about, that was pretty damn good. Like he was good as fuck, man. He was one of the best tight ends in the league, man. And I don't hear his name that much in terms of tight ends, dog. He was good. Cliff Branch still doing his thing. But like I said, Pittsburgh was just too damn good, man. Like, and they had the second best defense in the league. They had the second best defense in the league. So that lets you know how hard that shit was. But nonetheless, man, Dallas takes care of the Rams. They beat the shit out of them, bro. I mean, the Cowboys was up 34-0. And that's before we got to the fourth quarter. You talk about the number one defense. Fuck all of that. Roger Staubach said, fuck that shit. Take all of these touchdown passes. 4 of them. Jesus. And he gave you 54 yards on the ground. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Ron Jaworski just didn't have it that day, man. But then again, they couldn't run the ball. And like I said, in this era, if you can't run the ball, your quarterback is in trouble. He getting fucked up. So that's what happened. They couldn't run the ball at all, man. I mean, Lawrence McCutcheon just came off 200 yards. He's like, man, we stopped them. We stop him. We can win this game. I feel like that was the damn thing. I mean, 5 sacks, bro, and a fumble recovery. Well, I mean, he fumbled, but never mind. That don't really count. Damn. They got beat up in this one, dog. That's tough. 400 yards of offense to 118. That's nasty. That's nasty. That's a beatdown. But we get to Super Bowl motherfucking 10. Super Bowl 10, man. Now, I got to check out the play-by-play, bro. Hold up. Because if this the Super Bowl where dude dropped the ball in the end zone, that's the one where he dropped the ball in the end zone. No, this ain't the one. This ain't the one. No, this ain't the one. Yeah, this ain't the one. Cause I don't know if Jackie Smith on here yet. Hold up. Let's go back. Let's see if Jackie Smith on here. Still on the Rams. On the Cardinals. That's defense. Let's see. Jackie Smith, yeah. So that's not the Super Bowl. That's not the Super Bowl yet. He don't go to Dallas until later. Yeah, he don't go to Dallas till later. So he ain't there yet. Yeah, he don't go there yet. But I gotta say, Super Bowl 10 was pretty damn good. All right. So Roger Staubach starts it off strong, man. All right. He starts it off strong. Touchdown, man. Drew Pearson. All right. Terry Bradshaw gets a touchdown pass, right? So that's your first quarter, right? In the second quarter, Cowboys get a field goal. They take the lead into halftime, right? So then the Steelers get a safety, right? And then they get a field goal. And then they get another field goal. So you got to think about this time, right? So not only is time of possession important, but making the most out of your possessions is important, right? Because you know one team's going to do what they do, right? Nobody's really passing the ball that much, right? We do, they do, but they don't, right? If you got to pass too much, you're probably not going to win in this particular era, right? We haven't got there yet. But the thing that's crazy is that the Steelers, it seemed like every possession they came away with something. They came away with something. Like, you get a safety on a block, kick through the end zone. Like, that's special teams. So we winning on all three phases at this point. We winning on defense, we winning on offense, we doing what we want to do on offense, right? Which is keep moving downfield and keep adding to the score, right? Because I think if you're a Steelers person, your defense is good. So all we got to do is take the time off the clock, keep adding to the score, and it's going to be harder and harder for them to come back. And that's exactly what happened, man. Like, they made it tough on them. They just kept adding points. Like I said, 2 points. Which at that point in the fourth quarter, the Cowboys had the lead. Then the Steelers get a field goal, and then another field goal, and then they close it out in the fourth quarter with probably one of the greatest catches in Super Bowl history, bro. Like, I don't know if anybody's seen this highlight, man, but Lynn Swan went up there and got that motherfucker. Like, it was one of the most beautiful catches I've ever seen. Right? He hit him in stride with a touchdown. And oh my God, it was so beautiful, right? But I mean, Cowboys get a touchdown late, but by that point, it's over with. And like I said, Lance Swan wins MVP of the Super Bowl, right? So that just lets you know how good he was. But when you look at the numbers, right? Right, I'm a numbers guy, right? So I like to see exactly how this game was won, right? And when you just look at the first downs, right? It's even. So they both were moving the football, right? When you think about rushing yards, right? They both were running the ball well. And then when you think about passing, they both were passing the ball well. But one key stat stands out in this Super Bowl, and that's why the Cowboys lost. Turnovers. Turnovers. Turnovers, man. The Cowboys turned the ball over 3 times. And they fumbled the ball 4 times. So it really could have been even worse. And even though penalty yards is low, the Steelers had 0. That's discipline and not turning the ball over. Like Roger Staubach had 3 interceptions, man. And in a game like this, you need 0, like Terry Bradshaw had. I mean, and then Lynn Swan had 4 catches for 161. They had no answer for him. They had no answer for him. So you're getting hit by an aerial attack and you're getting hit by a Russian attack. But you also giving them opportunities. So that makes sense, the fact that the Steelers kept coming away with points. 3, right? You know, like they kept chipping, adding points because you kept turning the ball over. That's crazy. And Lynn Swan just having a fucking day. Like what the hell got into him? Oh, he ate his Wheaties before the game. He's like, shit, I'm good. Just give me the ball, Terry. I'm good. They can't cover me. Like he was on his Robert Tidwell shit. Man, they can't cover me. Just throw it up there. I'll go get it. Boy, did he. You wouldn't have got that shit, man. That was one of the best catches I ever seen, man. It's a ballerina. Nasty. But that's your champion, man. That is 1975, man. It's 1975, dog. Yeah, that is 1975, bruh. Like I said, Pittsburgh wins the championship, man. And this is championship number 2, I think. Yeah, championship number 2 and back-to-back titles. So we have seen in this time machine 2 chances to get that three-peat, that coveted three-peat. Like it's tough to get, whether it be people leaving the team, people retiring, coaching staff changes, organizational changes, things like that affect you getting a three-peat. And believe me, the Steelers was close to getting it. They was close to getting it. As almost as close as you can get. Like that was the closest I think you can get to a three-peat, bro. Like with the Chiefs being like the closest because they lost in the Super Bowl with a chance to get that three-peat. But up at this point, this might be the closest to you would get to a three-peat because I don't think the Dolphins Like, I don't know where they lost. Like, they didn't even get to the championship round. So they didn't even get a chance to really even fight for the conference title, let alone the Super Bowl. So they didn't have a shot. They didn't get close. But the Steelers, as we'll get into in 1976, man, when we get to 1976, y'all will see what I'm talking about. And it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun, right? 1976 was a wild ride. And there's some people that was pretty damn good this season. But wait, before I go, there's something important I have to look at. I need to look at this before I go. So let's look at the draft. I didn't look that up. All right. So, but I had to look at because there's some players I wanted to talk about that's gonna take us into the late 70s, into the 80s that were very important before I go. All right. Running a little too long here. I know people like to, they're like, man, he just keep talking about love football. Gotta talk about this. It's important. So I talked about Steve Bartkowski, man, or Bartkowski. Like I said, he was kind of the franchise quarterback for Atlanta that really kind of made them into a actual franchise, right? So we talked about him. Talking about Randy White, Maryland, right? Had a really good career, Hall of Famer, right? Ken Huff played until, nice career, man. So 10 years or so. But we got to talk about Walter Payton, who at the time he retired, he was the all-time lead rusher, man. So like I said, we didn't even got to him becoming who he became, right? He just started out, right? So, gotta talk about that. As I mentioned, a couple little guys in here, man. Fred Dean, like I said, one of the best. Let's see. Who else is in here, man? I want to say Ronnie Lott. For real? No, I ain't Ronnie Lott yet. Let me see. Who else was in here, man? Nobody stand out for real like that. Like, bro, we going deep. We go deep down today. But like I said, man, it's a couple of names, especially at the top, that necessarily like they were the ones, man. Like Walter Payton, Randy White, like a lot of people came in this draft that was pretty good, man. But Walter Payton is the most important because Chicago wasn't that good, obviously. Drafted him so high in the draft, man. But I love the fact that we can see that scouting was a thing, man. Because you go to Jackson State, you go down there and try to find you a nice running back. And boy, you found you one. Not only was he a violent runner, he had some quick feet too. And he was good, man. He was damn good. And he was good, but Chicago didn't really start getting good, man. They didn't get good until Mike Ditka took over, man. Once Mike Ditka took over, they was nice. And boy, Walter Payton was a big part of that shit. Big part of that shit, man. But 1976 is where we're going to pick this up, man. And 1976 was a wild ride, man. So I want y'all to continue to support our channel. And I want y'all to continue to support the Time Machine, man. This is really fun to do. I hope y'all can see my enthusiasm for this type of stuff, man. And I'll catch y'all on the next one, man, as we go through 1976. Hop in, because this is the Time Machine. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.